Hey guys, happy Tuesday. I don't even know the date anymore. I think it's March 31st. So this is my sewing room. This is where I tend to do most of my work. Homework, schoolwork, sewing work. Anyway, I hope you're having a good day. I haven't really heard from you guys. A week's been really quiet, and I'm sort of wondering if you guys have been quiet because you were in shop when all of this happened, and so that has me very concerned. Um, so I a week I've been reading the story for you. You still are expected to know it. But I've been reading it. It's on my Facebook page that I put the address in the classroom. It's on my YouTube page. I've put that address in the classroom. So I put it in many places. Um, Brian is working on scanning a copy of the book so that we can put it in the classroom for you. But you gotta talk to me. You gotta let me know. Is the audio enough? Do you need to see the words? Do you need a copy? Were you able to get a PDF? Were you able to take it out from your local library? Talk to me and let me know, because you are definitely responsible for it. Also, you will be responsible. I think I've got it right here. Hold on. Oh, you're going to be responsible for this book. And a week, I don't believe any of you got it, but Brian is going to be scanning that hopefully today or tomorrow. Um, but I want to encourage you to watch some movies. I'll try to make a list of some, but some of the if you have Mississippi Burning, that would be a really good movie to watch because that's based on this story. Um, Ghosts of Mississippi, if you didn't watch the whole thing with me or if you missed it. There's the movie Green Book, which is really, really good. Um, Loving, which if you have Mr. Martinez, he was going to show you that movie. Sorry. So I don't know if he's still going to recommend it, but you should watch that. I've actually been watching the Mississippi Burning trial of Edgar Ray Killen, which took place in 2005. So, why, if the Constitution says that a man is allowed due process and meaning a speedy trial, if these boys were killed in 1964, what were the reasons why he was not brought up on murder charges until 2005? So it's really an interesting reason. And so you can find that you could Google that question and it will show up. Um, so anyway, he was found guilty. It's not like any surprise. Like I already knew when I was watching the jury trials that he was going to be found guilty. But I'm really enjoying watching it because one of the things I learned yesterday, the jury trial is very long. So I'm on the fifth, I'm on part five, but some of them are like 2 or 3 hours long. So they are long, but you get to meet like the mothers and wives of the boys that died. They were still alive for the trial. So Mickey Schwarner, his wife, she was pregnant at the time. So she'd probably be like my mother's age, like 79, because my mother was pregnant with me at the time. So that child would be like 55. I don't hear her talk about it, so I don't know if she lost the baby or she did have the baby. I have no idea. I just know she was pregnant at the time. But she goes on and she speaks, and she actually went on after her husband was killed. She went on and got a law degree. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting that when you have a law degree, but you're on the witness stand, your emotions block your clarity. So you could just see that she was emotional and very in love with her husband. Andrew Goodman's mom was still alive at the time, and so she went and spoke. And Cheney, James Cheney, um, his mom, oh, she was such a sweet woman. She also spoke on behalf of her son. And then for people, the original trial was not a murder trial. The original trial was a conspiracy trial. And so that's why he can be tried again, because now he's being tried on murder. And so some of the people that have died, I found this interesting. They had people um, read the transcripts from 1969, maybe 68. So if it was a black man that they had on the witness stand, the prosecution, right? So that's the district attorney's office. They would have a black man read that transcript. And if it was a white woman, they had a white woman read the transcript. So I just found all that stuff fascinating. You're probably bored just with me telling you because I know you guys. Um, but I would encourage you to find some civil rights movies and I'll put in some discussion questions in the classroom so that you guys can talk about either books, more books that you've read. You should have an anchor book. So your anchor book should be, but doesn't have to be, should be on civil rights. But we're going to be transitioning into immigration. And remember, do you remember? Think back, think back. Do you remember that I talked to you guys about reading a book that was about how Dominicans influenced and brought revitalization back to Lawrence? And then do you remember that I said, like I asked how many of you were have immigrated from another country? I asked how many of you were first generation Americans. I asked if you were second generation Americans, and um, I asked you to find out some information from your parents. Well, we're going to be doing a genealogy project. And so Brian and I still have ancestry.com. And so might be able to help you look up some stuff too. You might be able to get a 30-day free ancestry, which would be really great because you can add stuff to it. So we're going to do genealogy on your family. And you might not have a family member like who became president, because I don't either. But you know what? It's the little things that your family, your people have done in this country that made the country what it is today. And so I want you to think about that. And, I've never touted that um, I came from wealth. I've never given that impression. At least I hope I never have, because I didn't. My mom came from a wealthy family, but my mom married my dad, who was like super poor. My dad grew up in the projects in East Boston. Um, his three brothers worked while my dad finished trade school, like you guys. My dad was a baker, and my dad my dad was able to give us a pretty decent life because of going to trade school. And anyway, one uncle, my dad's oldest brother, he was like a middle manager in a shoe factory. You know how like in Lawrence we have the shoe factory, right? The different, well, Haverhill we have shoe factories. I don't know what kind of factories. You guys had textile factories, right? So we made cloth. But my uncle worked, I think it was in Lowell and in Nashua, and he was like a middle manager. He worked on the floor, not in the 1800s either. This was like 1980s. And so I actually got to go to a shoe factory, which I thought was really cool. My dad's other brother rose to be the head of sanitation in Somerville. He was a garbage man. That's all he was. He was a garbage man. No Italian innuendo in there. My mom's family is Italian. My dad's family is French. My uncle was just a garbage man. And he owned a two-family house. That was it. And their other brother, who was my godfather, who died fairly young, he worked, don't laugh, because I know you're laughing, all right? No, don't laugh. My godfather, my dad's brother, worked at the Franklin Park Zoo, and he trained the elephants and took care of the elephants. And he was rushed by an elephant, Mabel. I actually have a picture of him and Mabel. I'll find it. He was rushed by an elephant, and when she charged him, the trunk, her trunk, right? You know how an elephant has a trunk. Her trunk hit him and pushed him up against the wall. And later that night, he died of a heart attack. And, it's funny because so many people are like, oh my God, that's so funny. And I suppose it is a little tragic. I was like 7, so it was kind of tragic. But, now, that was in the 70s. And now we find out that the type of heart attack he had, or type of death he had, it's called death by sleeping. So if you Google it, it's actually really something. My best friend's husband died from it a couple of years ago. And what it is I'm not health career, so you guys figure it out. But you're in your sternum, right, is an induction to your heart beating. And when that gets hit, or like a hard hit, not like, football, when it gets hit, even if like you're drying your hair and say your feet are wet, right, and you get like a little electrical shock, it could be something like that. So because he got hit in the chest, when he finally went to bed that night, he died. So yeah, that is really a real illness. So, I don't come from like, great family or anything. My father didn't even think I'd get through college. So I guess I made him proud. But there are great things that your family has done, and I want you to think about that. So I want you to think about like the little things. Don't look at things like, oh, well, my family was never a lawyer, or, they weren't mayor of town. Who cares? They don't have to be. It's the little contributions in life that make the biggest, what do we call that? Drops in the ocean, right? When you skip stones in the ocean, sometimes the littlest stone makes the biggest ripples. And so we want to think about that. So my dad wound up not really doing, he was a baker. He loved baking. And when we moved to Beverly, when I was about 11 or 12, my dad got involved in politics. And he, if you ever go on my Facebook page and you see things about Beverly, you'll see people talking about my dad. My dad used to teach a class in night school, Baking with Vinny, and, just taught everyday women, just little secrets of baking, and people loved him. And the rec department, the girl who runs the rec department was one of my first friends. And she talks all the time how much she loved my dad, and how much he loved, just those few years that he taught a baking class. And my dad owned property. My dad was really good to his tenants. And when my dad was dying, a lot of tenants came to us and went to the wake. And, they even talked to my sister and told my sister just how wonderful my dad was. My dad never evicted people. Even if they couldn't pay, he worked with them. He helped them. Eventually, some get evicted, but he really worked with his tenants because he knew they were poor. And he always rented to poor people, which I thought was really great. So I want you to think of like those little things. Like, what are the little things that your family did? Maybe they ran a store. They didn't have to be a store owner, but maybe they ran a store. Sometimes it's just the little thing. Now I'm missing my dad, you guys. Sometimes it's just those little things that really make a difference. So I want you, no matter where you live, you don't have to live in Lawrence, but I want you to start thinking about your genealogy and just start piecing together, who came to this country and when, Nick Guerin, I don't mean to call you out here, but you sort of forced me into changing and adapting because I got so excited when you got excited and you shared with me about your family. And that's the excitement that I'm hoping everybody gets. Since we're in a time of social distancing, this is a great opportunity. Get on the phones with those grandparents. Get on the phones with your aunts and uncles. You know, my grandparents had already been dead before I started my genealogy, but my grandmother always told me about my great-grandfather that died in the Portland disaster. They call it the Titanic of New England. And, and that might be my greatest claim to fame because we are the only, living relatives from a guest who was on that steamship because my great-grandmother was pregnant and my grandfather was only about a year old and his brother was about 3. And my great-grandfather said to my great-grandmother, "You stay here, I'll go up to Maine and see what's going on." My great-great-grandmother had asked her son Charles to come home. She needed to talk to him. So my great-grandfather kept his wife and children home because there was a nor'easter, because they were poor. So they stayed in East Boston and he went back up to Maine. Our family had emigrated from Nova Scotia. And so he was killed in the Portland disaster. And so to date, the only lineage from the Portland disaster is my family and the workers. So people who worked on their boat, obviously their families weren't with them. So if you think about Titanic, right? Think about Titanic. But everybody died on the Portland disaster. And obviously the ship captain, the porters on the boat, the people who worked on the boat had families. But all the guests on the boat, people who bought a ticket on that boat, died. And they brought their families with them. And so the other piece is that my great-grandfather was one of 23 bodies recovered and identified. And so for me, that's a great lineage. So I'll share that with you more as we start doing our genealogy. But I encourage you to make some phone calls, check in with those grandparents, check in with your aunts and uncles. You tell them, just say, we're doing a genealogy project in school. And you guys will wind up making like a video, maybe a PowerPoint presentation. So ask for pictures, okay? And if you have to like take the picture from your phone, that's fine. This is fun. This is going to be for us to share who we are with each other. I'm going to do the project too. I have all my genealogy stuff, so I know how to make the charts. And so I will get some charts made for you that you can fill in. And as we go, I'll show you some. So I want you to get used to watching videos from me. I'm not feeling that great today, so I didn't put any makeup on today, so I'm so sorry. But, we'll do a lot of videos, all right? Oh, wait, look it. I'm going to do one more thing. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'll make a fool of myself. Look, I can come on with my red nose. This is like that Walgreens nose, right? It actually came, I got it in one of my spinning things. So who knows? We can have some fun, okay? So you guys, I love you. I hope you're all doing really well. I miss you all so much. You are the lifeblood to my soul. And don't ever forget that. I miss you guys a lot. I was saying to another student in one of our classes that I never realized how much I need you guys in my life. And so I think that's all I'm going to say because I'm going to cry. But I need you guys in my life. And I'm so glad that I was so fortunate to meet every single one of you and have every single one of you as students. I'll never forget you guys. Obviously, we'll never forget this coronavirus either. But you guys have been such a blessing to me. I've really enjoyed every single one of you. Yes, even you. Every one of you. So I just hit 20 minutes, so I'm going to go. I didn't mean to talk to you this long. But genealogy project, start finding out where you came from. All right. Love you guys. Be good. Be good to each other. Help your parents. They're going through a really tough time right now. Have a good day.